Welcome to what is the last of our 5 sessions, and again the 5th one is from my house, the comfort of my little back room here. A couple of things to sort of clear up first of all. So this is, being that it's the 5th workshop, my intention was always that we would have our 5th one as being our little part of assignment 1, which is to say you've done a task and that it's completed. So what I thought I'd do here, again, like last time, I'm going to flip this lesson around. So I'm actually going to step you completely through it, step by step, and then allow you the time to sort of just dabble with it and play with it as you need to. And then, of course, something that it is you would need to send back to me, and probably the easiest way for something like this is just to flick me an email, and then I can just tick it off and say, yep, got it, and that's pretty good. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. We'll keep it simple that way. If I just open this up first of all, session 5. So basically it's just about pulling everything together. Everything we've done from definitely the first 3 sessions, because I know that pretty much everyone was there. The 4th session, given the craziness of everything that's going on, some people got onto it, some people sent me some stuff, some people didn't. It's okay, life will go on. Being that it's a part of assignment 1, and from how I understand, it's a pass or fail. Basically, if you submit me something that sort of shows what we're attempting here, brilliant. Now, the biggest issue for me with all of this is because ordinarily up at uni, I pull out the cart of iPads, we hand them around, and happy days. We can just get it done, and we do things during the lesson, which is perfect. However, from home, we can't necessarily do that because not everyone has access to the right equipment, and that's okay. So if you do, here we go. So if you do have access to an iPad, great, just play along, follow along, send me something that you've made. A few people have reached out and said, yep, I've got access to a Mac, and that's equally as fine. So if you do, you can access what we're going to do. Again, we're going to use Keynote a bit like last time. Access the Mac, and you can do it. However, of course, being that it's on a laptop, the menu structure and where you find things is a little bit different. But for the better part, it's all still the same. It just behaves a little different. Now, if you don't have access to either of those, bearing in mind that everything I'd structured here was all centered around iPads because, again, very prolific in schools and wanting to use that technology really well. But if you don't have access to that, that's okay as well. So what I've simply said, if you can improvise in such a way, so if you want to use a different app or a program that you're more comfortable with and that you've got access to, hey, great, go for it. And look, you know what? If it all turns to mud and you can't, just even sketch something on paper and sort of give me an idea of what it is that you would have created and designed out. I'm pretty relaxed and pretty easygoing about it. So just whatever you can sort of indicate to me, hey, this is what I would have done, that'll be fine with me. All right. So that sort of sets the tone of where we're at. So at least I get something from you. And like I said, an email is probably just going to be the easiest way. You can find my email on Flow and flick it to me there. Bombard it. All right, let's quit that. So what are we actually going to do? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to show you an example of what we're going to make. And it pulls in a few things that we've done. In fact, it pulls in most of the things that we've done already. For those that weren't part of this session 4, that session was looking at Keynote, which has an enormous number of similarities to Pages, which most of us did touch on. So the skill transfer should be pretty easy. You take it from Pages and apply it into Keynote. So what I want to do is I want to ask you to design a template, and I did share this back in session 3. Templates are fantastic for kids, especially when you take them out of the classroom and you go somewhere. So I want to put this premise to you to say your students are going on an excursion, and I want you to create a template for your students to add content to show what they've learned on their trip. So you're sort of guiding them in what you want them to capture, but they're not sort of using up their field trip time making something. We don't want them doing that. We want them learning about the place, of course. So I've made an example here. Now, my trip is to the moon, and as I'm going to ask you to make something similar, my trip's to the moon, let's have some fun with it. So whoever can come up with the most creative location to go to, I throw it open to you. So let's, for a moment, throw out that we're going to the museum or the art gallery or the zoo or anything like that. We can chuck that out if we want. You can do it if you want, but if you want to go somewhere left of center, go for it. I'm always up for that. So please do. So my trip was to the moon. Now, you would remember that we also touched on an app called Clips. So what I've done is I've created a template here with an introduction in Clips. And if I tap it and hit play, might need to turn my volume up.
The surface of the moon. So here, when you arrive, you're going to see a whole different part of the galaxy. And
okay, so it goes on for only a few seconds, and it sort of just talks about, here's what I want you to do. Now you'll notice, if you're looking at the side of my screen here, you'll notice that I've got two title slides, for one for a better term. So this one here was nothing more than I just took an image off the net, went to Safari, took a picture off the internet, and just found it and put it on as a background. That's okay. But the first one was a little different. I just used my Apple Pencil and I drew my background. Which I'll show you how I did that now. So that's in brief. That's because I've got access to an Apple Pencil, I can, but just to sort of highlight the fact that you don't have to use an image off the net if you've got some tools available to you. They're pretty cool, actually. But either which way, I've got two options. But nonetheless, I did put that Clips video in the front because I wanted to sort of explain the task. So then I created 3 more pages, and I've said, okay, I want you to tell us a little bit about the transport, and you'll recognize the tap to add image, which I'll go through again and make again. And this one here, I've said, all right, transport, show me evidence of the vehicle you used to get to the moon. This one here is looking at, get me evidence of moon rocks that you've found that are unique. And this one here is saying, show me evidence of human activity in the past. So this is what we're aiming to make. Now, I could probably just leave it at that for some of you. You probably just go, yep, I know what to do, and away you go. And if you want to do that, that's fine. You can leave it here and go for that. If you want to step through it with me, stay tuned because that's what I'll do now. I'm going to jump into a blank one and we're going to make this whole thing from scratch yet again. So here we go. I'm going to jump into presentations, and the very first thing that I want to make is that button again, that click to add image. So you'll see I've got it there already, but just to remind people how to do it. And again, if you want to skip through parts, you can, because you remember how to do this. But we did this in Pages back in the classes, but we're just going to do it in Keynote because, hey, we can. So same deal as before. I'm just going to delete and delete. And I'm going to add my shape. Again, I said I'm a bit of a rounded rectangle tool fan. And I'm going to put that in here. And I'm going to make it yellow. I'm going to add, I'll search a camera. Happy with that one. And I'll pop that about there. And let's format that too. So I'm kind of trying to replicate this as much as I can to what I did before. Now I want some text across the top. And if you remember that under shapes, text is the very, very first one. And I'm going to go here and say tap. Now here, I'm going to space along a little bit. By the way, if you double space fast, you might already know it puts a full stop in. So just steady as she goes. I've put 3, 4 spaces in there. I can change that if I need to. To add image. All right, and I'll just tap out of there, tap back on it, and bump up the font nice and big. That's okay. That'll pop that in the middle, bring the camera up, Oops, don't need the keyboard. And put that there like that. Okay, that's fine. I think that gap in between tap and 2 is too short, and you'll notice that it's also added a capital T, so we'll just fix that as well. All right, that looks pretty good. Now the other thing is I want that little plus because I want to match it. So I'm going to just create it really quickly. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to turn that into something dark gray. My fill color, I'll go to the one under black, and that will do there. Then I'm going to add another rectangle. I'm going to make it nice and thin, and I'm going to make that one color white. And I'll grab that and I'll put that there like so. And now I'm going to pinch and zoom in on that because it's just going to make it a whole lot easier if I do. Copy and tap, and I'll tap again, paste. There it is there, 2 fingers. I'm tapping with 2 fingers, and I can rotate and pop that straight in the middle. All right. Now we have done this before. I'm going to use 2 fingers, tap, 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 to highlight the whole thing, and tap group. So now I've got my plus, and of course because they're shapes and they're tied together, I can just resize them. If that plus was an emoji or if it was a text plus, you would be having to adjust font sizes. So it's actually easier to make it out of shapes. So I'm going to make that a bit smaller and grab it. It probably needs to be a bit smaller still, and pop that in there. You'll notice it's deforming sometimes, so I just got to make sure I've got those diagonal dots to keep it the same proportions. And I reckon that looks not too bad. Oops, might make it just a shade bigger. I also think, actually, if I move that up, I kind of think that my space in here just needs a little bit more. Make that a little bit wider to fit it. Grab that, make that a little bit bigger, and pop that in like so. Being a bit fussy there, but that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. That's all right. Now, just for what it's worth, because, you know, hey, why not? We can. If I do camera again, I went and grabbed this shutter and I made it black and just brought it in the middle. Nice little tip here. If you want to resize something, get the top centers right. And if you grab the bottom center, it will always constrain the proportion, so it'll always look even. So I'm just going to bring that up until the bottom is right, and then I'll leave it at that. That's pretty good. Okay, so we know that this has to be an image. That's something that we did in the class. So it has to be an image. So to do that, I am literally going to take a screenshot, making sure that nothing is selected. So like there, my camera is selected. You know, I don't want a menu or dots around an object. It's got to be nice and clean. So I'll just tap off it, nice and clean, screenshot it, grab that screenshot, and now I'm going to crop that in, because by doing this, we are creating a very, very basic image. And yep, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll tap done in the top left corner, save to photos, and done. Now I actually don't need that anymore, so I'm going to jump out of presentations. Okay, and you'll see that I've got 2 side by side because I made one earlier, so that's the way it is. So let's hit plus, and now I want to start making my template, and I'll grab a blank one here. All right, and just because I sort of always like to start with a clean slate. That's, even though I could use those text boxes, I just do. For the purposes of you guys being able to hand something up, maybe make your file, give it a name that actually reflects something. So you might say you're in Thursday. Good one, Matt. Thursday. And you might, so I know that you're in Thursday, and you might say, you know, put your name in there. And then that way I know, oh, unbelievable. Really? I'll just put a 2 because I've clearly got another one. All right, so if I called it Thursday Matt Richardson, then that way if you had to send it to me by email, it just, it looks like that. And that'll work pretty well. All right, So I am going to create the front cover. So what I'm going to do is, just to speed things up, I am going to literally copy the one from before. Of course, I've copied it. You can make it. And make it your own way too. Come on, back on the side. Okay. So there's my, I'll just get rid of that. And now I've got my background. I drew it, no big deal. I've added some text. I made it nice and big as well, just so that it can be seen. And of course, I had that video that I made in clips. So if I jump to clips, and we see it here. Now, you might ask, okay, how did you do it with that weird space background? That's because I did it on my phone, not on the iPad, and I used one of the scenes in there. So, you know, look, that's just because I had access to it and because I said I'm doing it on the moon. Now, the reality is just use your iPad and make a pretty basic one, and that'll do just fine. That's just because I could. And now we're seeing this on side, by the way, so just because of the way we're recording. And of course, I just saved it as a video. All right. So I'll jump back out of there. Now, I know that video is in my camera roll, and it is right here. So I know it's there, okay? So I can use that. Back to my Keynote. So here we are. I'm just going to add a photo or a video, and there is that video, and I'll go use, and it drops it in. I'll just make it a bit smaller, and little things, just little finessing. I don't know, that's just me, but little things like I'll add a border. This black's definitely not going to work, so I'll make it white, and I'll make it a little bit thicker, and I might change the style to, say, the chalk one. You know what, and it just makes it stand out just that little bit more, and I'm okay with that. That's good, happy with that. All right, so the first slide was transport. All right, so let's kick that one off here. So I'm going to grab I'm just replicating the one I made before, but of course, you know, you're more than welcome to do what I did or do your own. So I'm going to fill, and I'll just choose a dark blue. Let's make sure that matches up. Now I can type straight into here. I did this all in capitals, by the way. ANSPORT. Or if you want, you can lay a text box over the top. It's entirely up to you. I'll just jump in here, go to text. I want to, oops, no, better highlight that first. Make that a whole lot bigger. Nice and big. And I'll align it left. So the only problem with this is that it's going to push it hard up against the left. There are probably more so on the Mac version, you can pad things out. So if it bothers you that text is hard up against the left, I'll cut that just for argument's sake, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, and so by doing that, and now I don't have it hard up against the edge, I've got a little bit more control, so I'm going to bring it in over there. Entirely up to you. Transport, because we're going to the moon, well, we get there by rocket, so I'll grab this little rocket, I'm going to put it in the corner. Little visuals like this are super powerful. I don't want to understate them, because if you're doing this with junior primary kids, the word transport is a really big word. They may not be able to read it, but they can identify with a rocket. So little visual clues are super powerful. So don't be afraid to chuck it in. It only takes an extra couple of seconds. And for most of us, it just looks like fluffing up a page. But the reality is that little image can actually be really, really powerful. So yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to use it. I want to grab from my photos, I want to grab my object to add an image, and I wanted to put some text in. So I'll grab my text box. And in it, I said I'm looking at my cheat notes right now. Show evidence of the vehicle used to get to the moon. Show evidence of the VEHICLE. Always get that one wrong. Show evidence of the vehicle used to get to the capital M for moon. And I'll bring that in. And, we'll play around a little bit here with the way we want it to look. I might align it right. I might make it a little bit bigger. Now, here's a cool thing, though, to note. I have got show evidence of the vehicle used to get to the moon. It's single line space. Now, a nice feature for kids to be able to read because we don't like chunks of text so much. So I'm going to bump the text spacing or the line spacing up just a little bit. It might just make the text a little easier to read for young eyes. I'm going to grab a shape because I really dislike the way that black text sits over there. Again, this might just be me taking it a little bit further, but up here, I'm going to arrange and I'll send that backwards. And there's my text. Now, looks a little bit boring, so I might make it green. And that text, I might just make that white so it will stand out a little bit better. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now, the other thing I did do as well was I added another little bit of text that says underneath approximately how long did it take us to reach our destination? Question mark. Oops. Question mark. And I might align that left, and like last time, I might bump up the line spacing just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to hold it there. All right. There's a couple of things I want to do here, and these are pretty important as well, because if I leave this like this, guarantee you students will completely make a dog's breakfast of it. They just will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap every item on this page except for the image box. So tap, 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 tap the text box, tap the green box, tap this text. The whole lot. Everything there is selected except for that camera box. And I'm going to jump into my format and arrange, and I'm going to lock it. Everything goes grey in the corners. This way, no kid, no student can move anything around accidentally. All right, I'm moving my finger around all over the place. The only thing they can do is move this one right now. And that's okay. Now, I did say, you might say, well, hang on a sec, you've given a question, what do they do? So I might actually add a second text box underneath here. And I'll say something as simple as a answer here. Ugh. Let's try that again. And we can get it right. There we go. So now I might say, all right, that's active, that's active. The last thing I need to do here, though, is I need to turn this into something that has that plus in the bottom corner. And we've done this before. I'm going to tap on the format tool, down the bottom, set as placeholder, and now I get that little plus in the corner. That page is done. That's precisely how I want it done. Okay, so I wanted to create a second page, and it looks a little different. Instead of remaking the whole thing all over again, save some time. Tap your second thumbnail, and I'll go copy, tap underneath it, and tap on paste, and we get two of the same thing. All right, there's a couple of things we're going to have to fix here though. The rocket, we need to unlock it because we need to delete it. Transport, we need to unlock it because it's going to say something different. It's going to say moon rocks. This text here, I need to unlock it. The green box I need to unlock. This one I'm going to unlock because I want to delete it. And this guy, just don't need it at all. All right. Now I asked in this page to have two moon rocks. All right. So I've got a spot for one picture. I'm just going to copy and paste. So I have 2 of these. I'll just pop that out the way for now. A little bit of design here. I'll bring that around. And I'll bring that one up. This was a bit more text, so... what did I write? Search for 2 moon rocks. Search for 2 moon rocks. Search for 2 moon rocks that have UNIQUE, unique features. Full stop. Take a photo of each and use a photo of each and use arrows and sound recordings to highlight the features. Promise this is the most amount of text in any of these pages, by the way, so if you're sitting there bored listening to me type my own words, it's completely understandable. I'd be bored of that too. All right, so what I've done, I've put in 2 image placeholders. Now, we did this in session 2, I reckon it was, where we created... where we're doing publishing and we put sound in there. It's the same process. So not that we're actually going to put any sound in, but the students could. They would know, you know, I'd go add into the media and I could go record audio. We're not going to do that. But they know it's there, or we would expect that they know it's there. So I'm saying, okay, you've taken some photos. You know, you might go and add an arrow and, you know, point to some photos, some features on your rocks and great. And add some voice recording to tell us what you found. So we're kind of trying to make it a bit more interactive that way. All right, that one looks okay. The third one is going to look similar to the second one, the first one of these. So I'm actually going to copy this one again and paste it underneath. So 2 and 4 look exactly the same. Back on moon rocks, just because I was talking about little objects. Rock. Let's grab a rock. Let's make it light grey and we'll put it, looks like an iceberg, but we get the idea. We know what's going on. And the other thing I didn't do as well was lock everything down. So tap, tap, tap the rock, tap that, and tap that. Now here's something interesting. Some of these things are locked already and some are not. So when I go format, it actually says unlock. I can't lock them. So I'm going to unlock them because now it brings them all the same. Now they're all unlocked. Format, arrange, and lock. And now they're all locked. So that's good. So the only thing that here that's not locked are these 2 image placeholders. Cool. Back on the last slide, which we said was called human activity. So I'll unlock it. Human activity. And I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to unlock it and delete it. And we added, in here, I searched in person. And I grabbed that there. Same deal as before. I'll make it sort of 1 shade darker than white. You can make it white, man. You can do whatever you want. I'll put that there. I don't need this text. I don't need that. And I did say, I'll unlock that. Show evidence. Show evidence of past human activity. Of past human activity. Possibly from any early moon missions. Okay, so we've got a little task there to show that activity. I might add in here as well, little asterisks. This could be best done as a short video. So, you know, we might say to the students, all right, guys, I want you to make a little video here instead of photos. Don't want the font the same size. I definitely want that a little bit smaller. A little bit tricky because I can't see what's underneath, so I'm just going to have a bit of a stab in the dark there and sort of hope it's all right. Yeah, that's okay. Put that there, bring that up. All right, and that's pretty good. Same as before, I want to lock everything in. Lock. So tap, 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 tap. I have to unlock them because some of them were locked and then relock it. And that's actually pretty much done. Pretty happy with that. So I've got my first page. It's got my hand-drawn one in there, but of course, if you haven't got those facilities, great, just grab an image. But I put a little clips video in there to introduce it. The only thing that's not on here is the student's name. So I'd probably be saying, hey, put a little text box in there with your name, or you might even put a spot for it yourself. In here, I've got everything locked down and I've got a space for them to add their image. I have a space for this one where it's got 2 images, and I'm saying, hey, you could possibly add some audio recordings. And the last one was, some human activity. So as I said at the start, take this concept to make your own. And go wherever, have some fun with it and see what you can create. If you do put a clips video on there, keep it short, because then that way you're emailing the finished product. This Keynote, if you can make one, is smaller because, of course, video being in it's going to make it large. So just keep it short, sharp and shiny. I totally get what you're trying to achieve, and send it through that way. Okay. No other little child humans came through, so that was good. Good luck. If you need any help, flick me an email, but I'll see you at the shoot times unless something untoward happens between now and then. Good luck.